keep up the distribution through Shelton then, or do you have different plans?
That's the hope. Yeah, we've reached out to Specialty Imports, which is the local Shelton Brothers wholesaler, and they are a wholesaler of specialty wines and meads, and got a really good reputation, obviously, as does Shelton. So that's another really great part of this, is we're partnering up with wholesalers that are really top-notch and supportive of what we're trying to do. So really no reason to change that right now, and it's another one of those, it's not broken, we don't need to fix it.
Yeah, I hear that. Well, it sounds like you guys have got a pretty good thing going here. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities, and correct me if I'm wrong, Denali's got more extensive production capabilities than you had before, Mike. Is that right?
Much greater. Orders of magnitude.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you might be able to keep up with the demand for the Raspberry now.
That's right.
That's the hope.
We've been having trouble keeping up with the beer demand, so this could be the first year where we're not shorting our customers, even though we've had outages on a couple minor outages. But yeah, I mean, our hope is that we'll be able to keep up, and we've for Mike, this was a passion that he had, and he'd have a 50-hour-a-week job that he was focused on. He'd come and do the mead. For us, this is what we do 24/7. So I think by nature of just being exclusively focused on this and having the equipment that can enable us to make larger batches than what Mike did, we might have an opportunity to not have limitation of capacity issues as much as maybe Mike did in the past.
Well, it sounds to me like what you've got here is a match made in heaven. I mean, you're picking up an award-winning line of meads, and along with an award-winning mead maker. And then Mike gets to still do what he loves most while getting to pursue the retirement that he's been trying to get to for the last 10 years. And, I mean, all the way around, it sounds like a win-win-win.
Well, it certainly looks great from my point of view. I hope that it's looking as well from Sassan's and the crew's point of view, too.
Oh, yeah, it absolutely. I mean, that we're pretty honored and privileged to be able to work with Mike. I mean, outside of our relationship together with acquiring Celestial Mead, it's we're friends before, so to be able to continue working with him and pick up kind of where he's handing off the baton to us, so we're really pretty excited about it and privileged really to be able to do it. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
It sounds like it. I'm excited to see what you guys do with all of this, because I mean, you've got more capabilities plus more ideas, and as well as the existing stuff. So I would love to have you guys back on, in another 6 to 8 months after you've had time to get things ramped up and see what's happening. Because I think this is an exciting step forward for both of you.
I would love that.
It works for me.
Okay, cool. Well, I want to apologize for getting off to such a late start, but you guys get the whole power going out thing. I'm rural, so stuff happens.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to let you get back to your lives, and, with the caveat that you'll probably be called up again to serve sometime in the future.
I'll let you know that mid-January is not a good time for us, because that's when the Alaska Beer Week, which is actually 11 days long now, happens.
Oh, so great. They've expanded it.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice. Okay, yeah, well, I was thinking more along the lines of, since you're probably going to want to have something, going to go to the Manger Cup, that probably sometime maybe mid-spring-ish.
I think that works.
Yeah, not too late, though, because then the hops come in and things get really busy, so...
Yep.
Thanks for having us on, Vicky. This was great for us.
Oh, hey, thanks for agreeing to come on. It's been really cool having you, and, we'll see you guys in several months at the Manger Cup.
Okay.
Indeed.
All right, man.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, I guess we're on to doing our back to basics now, aren't we?
We are on to... Whoops, I think I accidentally called... That was me. I accidentally called Sassan back. Didn't mean to. Yeah. No, it wasn't you, Manny. Sorry. That's it. We hear your keyboard, but not your phone. I don't know what. Yeah. It's been one of them kind of nights, you know.
All right.
Yeah, they were very cool.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see how things are going in a year or two with them.
Yeah. I want to see, in 6 to 8 months, my guess is they'll be up and running and doing stuff. Hamish, you still on?
I am, yes.
Oh, fabulous. Yeah, what are we doing? Back to basics. Backsweetening, yeah. For those of you that were reading the post and I said, when mead goes wrong, I was wrong. That's next week.
That was where Vicky goes wrong.
That's where Vicky goes wrong, yeah. That's next week, if I remember correctly. But yeah. So, when mead goes wrong is next week. This week is backsweetening, and I'll fix the post so that it reads correctly. But so, what do we have about backsweetening to talk about?
Well, we're going to talk about a couple of different methods of doing it, how to figure out how sweet you want something to get. Manny's going to talk a little bit about post-fermentation tweaking of things other than just the sweetness. And I've got a handful of questions from a couple of got meters. So I guess we'll start with the way Ken Schramm and Oscar both like to do it is to front load it so that you start with a high gravity and that the mead finishes where you want it to. Given that, your yeast is eventually going to tap out at a certain level of alcohol. But, what if you're like me and you mixed up your must and see where it finishes? Because that's usually how I do it.
Or like me and you made a mistake.
Yeah, well, every now and then there's something that's just a little bit too dry, or, every now and then also the yeast decides that it hasn't read the package it came in and doesn't know where to stop. So, some people have had that problem too, even though it should have stopped at, leaving you a little bit of sugar. The yeast just had a little feeding frenzy and ate it all on you. So, as always, there's about 1 million different methods to reach any given endpoint. So I guess we should start with how you figure out how sweet you want to make something. Typically, the way I do it, if I don't already have a final gravity or a specific gravity in mind, is I'll take a sample of it, enough that I can use my my hydrometer in it, and I'll just add, take a big glass of it, and then add a little bit of honey and taste it, and add a little more and taste it until I get it about right, and then check the specific gravity, and there I've got something that I can work towards. What I would do is go online to the Got Mead mead calculator and pound buttons until I get it to spit out about how much mead or how much honey I'm going to need to raise to the specific gravity that I want, given the specific gravity that I have and the volume that I have. So there's a whole bunch of different ways you can end up with something finishing sweet, but I've found that the most reliable way is to ferment it dry, then stabilize it, and then raise the specific gravity. You start with somewhere reasonable, you start with somewhere reasonable, and then you just let it finish, and then let it die a natural death. Chemically treat it like we were talking about last week for stabilization, and then let it get, and then figure out where you want to sweeten it to, and just bring up the specific gravity with a little bit more honey. Now, one of the things Oscar has said is that he will not just add straight honey to a finished batch; he'll always boil it first.
Yeah.
Manny, I think one of the things you like to do is mix it with a sweet traditional.
Correct. I don't. The method that you use wouldn't work for me because when I tried it, I've never liked it. I know it's weird, but I don't the flavor of the raw honey for me when I'm doing exactly what it was you do, just it doesn't work for me. I don't like the way that tastes. So what I've learned to do is, like you say, if I usually make my main batch and let it go as far as it's going to go, or I step feed, which is, we haven't talked about that, but step feeding is another way to get there. But if I am letting it go, die the natural death, I also, if I have, let's say I'm making a 5-gallon batch, I'll make a 1-gallon batch next to it that I'm pretty sure is going to end up sweet, because I'll step feed it to the point where it ends up at 130, 030 or 040. And then use that to blend to get to where I want.
Oh, Paul Johnson is up on the Got Meat Facebook page, and he's saying that he front loads and cold crashes at the ABV tolerance of the yeast.
That's my preferred mechanism.
Yeah, you said, Hamish, you did a demo at your wine guild?
Yeah, most of the people at my wine guild are sort of greying old men, and they're rather fixed in their ways, and they absolutely cannot conceive of a sweet wine or back sweetening at all, because
they've never had a
sweet.
Riesling?
Yeah, well, of course they all like reds, so.
Right, yeah. Sorry.
A sweet red gives a very different character to what adding honey to a wine can. So they were very much enamoured with my sweet pie mints, which was a really good way of getting in. But I brought I had a Yo's strawberry pizzazz that went bone dry, and I went along to a meeting one night and poured everybody a sample of it, and then distributed pipettes full of basically we call it CSR, white sugar solution, which I'd boiled up on the stove, and then sat everyone down and said, "Here, taste this." And you see a couple of distasteful faces, and most people are polite and whatnot. But then I got people to add a drop at a time and to retaste it. And it was a really interesting way to show people the power of back sweetening and why you shouldn't throw away or give up on something that is completely dry. If I was going to back sweeten, I would like to do it with a sweet mead rather than with sugar or with honey. But it's a really good demonstration to show exactly where you want it to finish or exactly what it can do. And it really took this rather dry, not very nice strawberry and just gave it so much life with only 2 drops of sugar solution in a glass. And with 4, it was almost getting too much. So it was a great demonstration to show the difference between, and of course these were samples, so they weren't full glasses. But it was a good way to demonstrate just how good, how useful back sweetening can be.
That is interesting. Yeah, it's. I had a strawberry. Was from Pete's recipe in the patron forums, and it did the same thing. We had a temperature spike, and it was supposed to be semi-sweet, and it literally burned all the way dry because I didn't have the air on, because it wasn't supposed to be 90 degrees in March, but it was, and. So it burned dry like in a day and a half, and I was despairing. And then at the same time, and I think I've told this story before, I had a Orange Blossom traditional that was supposed to be semi-sweet, and I have foolishly pitched it with YE sweet mead yeast. Silly me. And I was, well, actually no, it was supposed to be sweet, but the sweet mead yeast did what sweet mead yeast does and died. Oh my God, the power just came back on. And it died amidships, and I ended up with basically Orange Blossom honey water, and I was like, well, crap, nothing I could do would get that sucker to start back up again. I mean, it was dead in the water.
It's dead, Jim. It's dead.
It was totally dead, Jim. And so finally I was just like, oh, fuck it, and I merged the two and ended up with a strawberry orange semi-sweet mead that was actually one of the best meads I've ever made, and I can't duplicate it because it was an accident, So yeah, but I generally